All right, it looks like we've got a lot of people already in attendance. So to be respectful of your time, I'm going to go ahead and start the webinar. My name is Deborah McGrain, and I am a technical writer here at Access Softek. I'll be facilitating today's webinar, Maximizing Account Holder Engagement in a Digital Age, presented by Larky. Before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. First of all, we welcome your participation in this webinar. Please utilize the Q&A found within Zoom to submit a question. We will typically hold those questions until the end of the webinar and make sure that we have time to answer them. So don't be shy, utilize that Q&A. We also would encourage you to share more through our short survey that you'll receive after the webinar. Let us know what you think. And we have a few webinars that are upcoming as well. March 15th, give members what they want, an intelligent virtual assistant. And then the very next day, a crypto asset strategy for your credit union. If you are interested in learning more about those webinars or signing up for them, you can go to accesssoftek.com/webinars. Finally, we do encourage you to connect with Access Softek on LinkedIn. As you can see here, you can learn more about our webinars, what we're doing within Access Softek, and get information about great things we have coming up, like our 11th annual Access Softek Clients Conference that you can see on the right side of your page. We'll be holding that at the Intercontinental Hotel in Chicago in August. So feel free to go to our LinkedIn page and check out some of that. So with that, I am going to hand the reins over to Scott at Larky. Scott, it is all yours.
Thank you, Deborah. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for the partnership at Access Softek, and thank you for your commitment to bring innovative solutions like this to your audience and to your client base. We've found that proactive account holder communication is not only topical, but something that's really necessary in this day and age. So we greatly appreciate it. Also joining me is Tracy Moyo, VP of Marketing with Community Financial Credit Union. So the way I think we'll structure this today, we'll go through some of the challenges that we see our clients, that we see financial institutions facing in the industry today. What are some of the struggles that you face when trying to interact and trying to engage with your account base? We'll touch on sort of some of the outside threats that you're also facing. And then we'll turn it over to Tracy and we'll talk about how Community Financial Credit Union is solving some of those challenges, some of the ways that they're engaging with their membership, some of the success stories that they've had lately. And then we'll talk about the solution. How do we kind of pull this all together? We talk about challenges, we talk about CFCUs, great strategies in addressing it. And then we'll give you also the tools that you need to kind of tackle this burning question about account holder engagement. So let's kick things off with a quick poll. Before we get going, I'd like to just ask you, select all the ways in which you are communicating with your account holders today. Again, multiple selections. So if you're doing all the above, go ahead and click them all, and then we'll talk about them shortly. All right, let's see the results. We need Jeopardy music. All right, so let's take a look at this. So this comes as no surprise. The majority are using email as a communication channel. Direct mail is a bit of a surprise, but I've actually been told recently that there's been a lot of success with direct mail. I think the overall message here is that there is a wide range of communication strategies that you're employing today. We'll talk about all of them. I will foreshadow this and just say that what we talk about today is meant to be a complement to your existing strategy. We are not here to displace email or any of the ways that you're communicating with your audience today. We're simply talking about giving you perhaps a more direct, more meaningful, more relevant way to communicate with your audience. But again, it's a complement to the methods that you're currently employing. So what we think a lot about how our clients are interacting and how they're talking to their account base in this world that we're all living in today. And I sort of show this image as kind of a ha-ha. This is so different than the world we all live in today, right? Having the bankers stand behind the teller line in the probably 1950s, It's just not the way that business is done today. So while this is probably an extreme case, the message resonates, right? If you are waiting for an account holder to walk into a branch or even to log into online or mobile banking, you're likely missing out on an opportunity to engage with them. We know, again, this image is not realistic in today's environment, but at the same time, we recognize a need to be really proactive. And I would argue that perhaps not all financial institutions just know the ways to do that, the ways to engage that proactive communication strategy. So if we think about the way that we all live our lives today, here we are on a Zoom webinar, right? We're all in our own environments. We're somewhat disconnected. That's the norm that we've all been thrust into. And so that requires a change in communication methods. That requires an even more proactive way to communicate with account holders. Again, we know that people are out living their lives, and there are many, many times that perhaps the bank or credit union could help the individual account holder. But again, if we're not top of mind, we're not going to have that opportunity. So proactive communication is certainly key today. And as we really kind of settle into our groove in this remote world, it's going to become increasingly important. So we look at communication today and kind of how it's different. This is probably going to come as no surprise to anyone on the call today, but a typical financial institution customer is in a branch just 4 times per year. The younger demographic that we all know we need to retain and attract is around half of that. So then the question goes back to our initial poll question. Well, how are you then communicating with these folks? And again, the majority said email, and email is a great broad reaching method, but I think we can all admit that emails have become almost noise at this point. We get so many, our inboxes are tough to manage. And so it's really tough to focus just on email. So when we look at email, we see that they have a click-through rate of just 2%. So that means that as you're sending messages out via email, the vast majority are not engaged with that form of communication. I'll ask our guest Tracy at CFCU, do you guys see, like, does this resonate with you? Are you in that range? Is that about right? Keep me honest.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. So a really great example is a credit card campaign that we had launched, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about that in an upcoming slide. But our engagement rate with that was profoundly more receptive than the email communication that we had sent out. Same promotion, for same copy verbatim. We're all having them go to the same landing page. But the way that people are engaging now is different. And what we've seen here at Community Financial absolutely represents the need for taking a more multifaceted approach.
Thanks, Tracy. And that's it. You kind of hit the nail on the head. It is, again, not about any one particular communication channel, but about having an omni-channel approach. So maybe email does resonate with a certain group of the account base, but it certainly doesn't with the majority. So let's continue our existing strategy, but also add in different elements that resonate with different folks. This is a recent study that BAI did, and I find this really interesting because it obviously speaks to what we're talking about, but it recognizes, or it makes obvious the fact that financial institutions sort of recognize this need to be proactive, to have this level of digital interaction. So on the left side, financial institutions were polled and were asked, what are the biggest gaps in the customer experience today? As you see, the majority responded with digital interaction. So we have a gap in digital interaction. We recognize it. Maybe we don't know really how to solve that, but we know that we could improve, right? Then on the other hand, they asked a similar question, but to account holders, to customers of banks and members of credit unions. Would you switch your financial services organization for a better digital experience? And as you see, maybe alarmingly, the majority of the younger folks said, yes, we will leave our bank or credit union if you don't improve your digital interaction. So it's really interesting. We have banks and credit unions saying, hey, we recognize this need. Maybe we don't quite know how to solve it. We have account holders and customers saying, you need to do better or we're going to leave you. So we aim to be that bridge between that gap. We aim to give the solution that banks and credit unions are asking for in order to retain these account holders. Excuse me. I love doing these webinars. I love getting in front of an audience, but I'm on the tail end of a cold, and so I apologize for the cough drop and the scratchy throat, but we'll get through this. So in addition to simply being challenged with people's attention spans, we have other players that are in this space today that were once like an afterthought, right? We have Chime and SoFi and some of the other big neobanks or fintech banks that are going after our account holders. So these institutions are large, they have massive resources, and they understand just the way that account holders like to be communicated with and the ways to engage with them. So unfortunately, they can no longer be ignored. SoFi's assets are now over $15 billion. Think about that, a financial institution with no branch network. It can be alarming if you don't have a strategy to compete with them, but in the sense of actually being able to proactively engage with your existing account holders, I'm telling you right now, institutions of all sizes can compete with these large neobanks and fintechs, but we can't ignore them. We have to consider them. So our strategy has to match what they're doing, so we don't get left behind. Other non-FIs already do a really good job of this. This is my favorite example. Excuse me. Delta has a phenomenal digital experience. They have a great app. They are incredibly proactive with their messaging. So when we talk about how the financial institution can utilize proactive engagement, proactive messaging to your account base, remember that people are used to getting this type of communication and they're used to getting it elsewhere. So it's only natural that they get this sort of proactive messaging from their financial institution. But think about how you at your financial institution would utilize this form of communication if you had a channel that your members or account holders paid direct attention to. So I fly Delta. I couldn't live without their push notifications because they tell me where my gate's at. They tell me where my bag is located, if my plane's running late, if my schedule changes. It's invaluable information. So that's what we aim to do. That's what we aim to position you with and give you the tools to accomplish with your own messaging. So again, we talked about email having an open rate of around 20%, a click-through rate of around 2%. Again, we're going to continue to communicate with email, but let's give you a better option. Let's give you an additional option to have that direct channel of communication. So when we look at push notifications, we see 90% tap rate. And as we get a bit deeper into this, it'll come as no surprise as to why that's happening. But it's tapping into that direct communication, that channel that people pay attention to. So I find this this illustration kind of eye-opening in the sense that email on the left has just that tiny little sliver on the left, which is the open rate. And then we have this big wide blue bar, which represents the open rate of push notifications. And again, as we get a bit deeper into this, it'll make sense as to why they resonate the way they do. But I'll tell you right now, if you have a message that you really want your members to pay attention to, you need to employ this sort of omni-channel approach. Our friends over at Gartner did a study, and the outcome of it was within the next 2 years, outbound interactions will overtake reactive inbound interactions. So what that means is the ways that you're engaging with your account base will transform to the majority of them being outreach that you are doing, whether that be marketing outreach via email or in this case, push notifications. You will have to be proactive with that communication, because the days, again, when people are walking into a branch or even going to the website to check auto loan rates, that type of reactive engagement is dwindling, and it will be in the minority just in the coming years. So how can financial institutions overcome these challenges and thrive in this digital age? I'll hand it over to Tracy, where she'll talk a bit more about CFCU and some of the fun things that they're doing and some of the ways that they've really tapped into direct member communication.
Thanks so much, Scott. I appreciate it. I just want to take time to introduce Justin Westra. He's our marketing analyst, and as I mentioned earlier, way smarter than I am. So Thank you, Justin, for hopping on and supporting the webinar. Again, my name is Tracy Moyo. I just joined the community financial team in October of 2022, so I'm still fairly new. We have around 80,000 members. We're 1.5 billion in assets, just to give you some perspective on size. When I first arrived at Community Financial, it was very apparent that we were not using an omni-channel approach, and we were really putting very few eggs in really large buckets. So we were doing the traditional email marketing. We were doing a lot of radio. We were doing some social, but the digital engagement really was waning. So one of the first initiatives that we kicked off was our partnership with Larky. And I'll just provide a couple of examples that have been really successful for us. So the balance transfer promo that we had between January and February, I know that every marketing person on this call is going to be able to resonate with this story. You know, balance transfer is coming up. It starts January 1st. We're in the holiday season, and all of a sudden we're looking at calendars and we realize we're not ready to promote this. So we already have a 2-week lag on being able to get started with this balance transfer promo. But what we were able to pivot to rather quickly is, wait, we have Larky and we have all of this data. We can push these notifications to members that we know have balances on cards that's not with Community Financial. It was a really quick and easy day, easy win. Same day, we got some copy put together. We pushed these notifications out. And to date, this has been one of their best performing campaigns that we've had with using Larky nudges. Within a few days, we had over 100,000 in balance transfer. And at the very end of the campaign, we exceeded our balance transfer goal by over $500,000. It's the most balance transfer that we've seen at Community Financial. What was great for me, though, is I could look to our lending team and our cards team, and even though they had no idea that we were late at getting this off the ground, I had something that was tangible that I could give them right away to show, hey, we're on track. Your marketing team is supporting you through these initiatives. The other one that I would love to talk about is our emergence credit program. If y'all are in Michigan, you know that we have some weird weather that happens. We had a recent ice storm that left thousands of Michiganders without power. In a conversation that one of our team members overheard in a hotel lobby, she travels and she heard somebody trying to secure a hotel room. They weren't going to have power for 3 to 4 days. There was no, they really didn't know when they were going to get power back on, which leaves a lot of people vulnerable. They were trying to secure a hotel room and they could not because they didn't have any credit to put on file. They had the cash, they were willing to pay cash, but they were turned away. And so again, same day, by noon that day, we were able to push a notification to our members to say, hey, if you need a credit card, no questions asked, we'll give you $500 credit card. Give us a call, reach out to us by email. We'll put in an application. Doesn't matter what your credit is. And we were able to, we capped it at what we internally felt we could withhold. And within a day or two, we had, reached that goal. But up to $50,000 we had lent out to Michiganders in need. It was the tap rate was the most successful ever, is 26.8, well over the performance for the email that we had sent out. The other thing too, I'll just kind of piggyback to the balance transfer. Scott, you had mentioned about, having low engagement rates for email versus these nudges. Just as a comparison, we had a 10% open rate with the balance transfer versus a 2% open rate on the email. So again, we don't want to miss that 2%, but we realize that we have to be smarter in how we engage with our members. All that to say, our average tap rate across all nudges that we've sent over the last 90 days, and I'm telling you, we are just getting started. We haven't even built out our full strategy for 2023 yet, but our average tap rate across all the platform is 15%. So we're incredibly pleased with that. Just some examples of, again, how we're going beyond engaging our members, beyond products. We've identified some key community events, and we've started piloting this. So in Plymouth, Michigan here, there's always a big fuss about this ice festival that we have in February. And so you can tour around downtown Plymouth. And we set up these geo notifications so that if they were by the ice sculpture that was near Community Financial, we had invited them to take a selfie. And upon taking the selfie and sending it to us, they would be entered in to win a free lunch. Our president and CEO, the amazing Tansley Stearns, she has a podcast, Despite Impossible. And we sent a time notification around rush hour, inviting our members to, hey, if you're in a car ride right now, driving home, and you need something fresh and different to listen to, we've got something for you to listen to. The other thing that I will just add here really quick too is it gives us a quick and easy way to do sort of A/B testing. So the credit card balance transfer promo, we led one notification with rate, and then the other with kind of a play on words, embrace zero this winter, which was actually, we thought, very clever because it was actually like a snowstorm that day. Rate always wins, guys. But we actually have that data now so that if we want to take that copy and use that across other channels, we know we have an easy way to indicate, which copy is resonating with most people. The other thing that I'll just mention that we've had some really great success with, we noticed that our Google reviews were lacking. So anytime a member comes into one of our branches and we perform a service, we're able to send a nudge to them, asking them to leave us a Google review. And we've had some pretty great success with that. So that's just a little bit of what we've been doing at Community Financial. I will say, Scott, you had mentioned, what other people in the industry are doing. I hate Domino's Pizza, and yet I am probably one of their biggest customers. They send me notifications all the time to remind me to feed my kids because they're hungry. And my husband worked at Domino's in college, and he's eaten probably more Domino's pizza than anybody on planet Earth should eat. But yet here we are, like we engage with their notifications because it's easy and it's convenient, and they're always top of mind.
And they're relevant because they always send it right around dinner time when you're trying to figure out what to eat. They're so smart. So, we laugh about it, but think about that from the financial institution's perspective, right? You're sending a message that is of value, that is timely. Maybe it's even in the right location because we're employing the element of geolocation. So yeah, Domino's Pizza, it's not great pizza, right? It's kind of cardboardy, but when they send that message and it's easy and it's quick and they're giving you the tools to engage with them, yeah, that's a pretty strong use case for them.
Exactly.
Tracy, I am curious. First of all, thank you for sharing a wide range of use cases. Again, when we look at we talk about member or account holder engagement sort of as this umbrella term, and this is a way that you can, at its core, being a communication channel, you can send any sort of messaging, and you gave us a wide range of use cases. The sky is truly the limit in terms of the ways that you use this channel to communicate with your membership. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on some expectations that you had going into this, how the results compared to those expectations, just as a new form of communication for you.
Mm-hmm. I think the expectation when you partner with new technology or when you onboard it is that it's going to be like arduous and it's going to be like pulling teeth. the onboarding process, we couldn't have asked for a smoother process. But in terms of the engagement that we've gotten, we're incredibly pleased. Again, we're just starting out, building out our 2023 strategy. So we're excited to see what's to come for 2023. I know, Justin, you are sort of the analytics guru. I don't know if you have any thing top of mind that you'd like to share that you felt like we've performed really well in Larky or in push notifications versus some of the other channels.
No, I think you really touched on the big ones with the balance transfer. That one was the most surprising for me, because as we started with Larky, my expectation was to be at least on par with email engagement, and that it has exceeded my expectations in that regard. You mentioned 2% click-through rate on the emails versus we had a combined around 14%, 12% tap-through rate on the 2 balance transfers that we sent out, and that it exceeded my expectations in that regard.
One thing too, I think is going to be important in 2023 and beyond is our ability to hyper-personalize notifications. And I feel like this is really going to be a platform that will allow us to do that. And I know, Scott, this isn't on the agenda, but I am curious, since we have Justin on the call, how do you feel the user interface is for you, Justin? Because I'm the one that's coming to you and saying, Justin, we need to send a notification out right now. And, you kind of have to drop what you're doing. What's your experience been like?
My experience has been very positive as far as the layout is concerned, and being able to build something essentially from scratch within a few minutes. I'm also responsible for creating our emails and preparing those for our members. And there's a lot more that goes into that, as far as just building the email and selecting the target audience for it, testing it, making sure everything works. It's very easy to create a nudge, and it has the example right next to it, so I can actually see what it's going to look like on a member's phone when they receive that notification. And there's an emoji library, and it's so easy to select when it's going to go out, what links I want to push it to. So my experience has been very easy with that, which is great, because a lot of times we have fast turnaround times for some of our campaigns, especially with the emergence credit that we did. That one was pretty timely based on why we were sending it, because a lot of people were dealing with power outages and a lot of people were losing groceries. So it was important to stay timely with that, and to have an option that is really quick on the turnaround, and I can easily just take our copy, put it in there, and then within 5 minutes we're ready to go. That's huge.
Thanks, Justin. That's awesome to hear. We built it as a tool that is meant to be user-friendly for operations folks, for marketing folks. It's not meant to be an IT project. And again, because this is certainly there's a strong marketing component to this, but there's also a really strong angle for operational announcements. And like you touched on, Justin and Tracy, those need to be out quickly. So we built it to be a tool that's really quick and easy. Like you said, in a matter of minutes, you can get an important message out to the membership, to the account base. And via our integration with Access Softek, because that's already done, and because we have clients live, and because all the connections are built and there for you to take advantage of, it's seamless in the back end. So you go into the portal, you create your message, and then it pushes it out via Access Softek's mobile banking app. I really appreciate you guys sharing some of your experience and some of your use cases. Let's make sure the audience is still on their toes. So I'll pose another question to the audience, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts here. So we're going to ask you, if you had a direct means to communicate with your account holders, one that's meaningful, relevant, and resonates with them, what topics would you use it for? And again, check all that may apply. And as we talk about use cases, these are just some examples that, again, the sky is the limit. These are some examples that are really strong and quick and easy use cases to get off the ground. But again, the way that you communicate through this tool is only limited by your creativity. So let's see the results. Very interesting. You know what? I did not, I love all of the above because I think they're all really, really important. What I did not expect was to see financial wellness near the top of the list. I think that's incredibly important. You know, as you're creating value with your account base and as you're trying to both retain them and give them a reason to continue that relationship with you, creating those interactions that are meaningful, that aren't about just driving income or revenue, they really create those long-lasting, meaningful relationships. So that's awesome. Let's go into just a little bit more detail, and then we'll open things up for Q&A. Excuse me. So the name of the game, and I think we've already said this until we're blue in the face, but it's about being proactive and not reactive. It's about using a channel of communication that your account base already pays attention to. I always use this example, and it's true, and I have no problem. I'm humble enough to admit it, but I am on this webinar. There are a bunch of people watching this right now. I'm trying to share all the wonderful things we do, and I'm trying to be really disciplined and focus on the PowerPoint in front of me. My phone's to the left. It's on a stand. The screen's black right now because nothing's going on. If I were to get a notification that from my financial institution or from anywhere, it's going to garner my attention. I'm going to glance over. I'm going to see what it is. And I think the majority of people would admit that their attention span or the way that they focus on things is probably in line with that. So we're simply giving you the tools to take advantage of that in a positive way and to use that to help your account base. So when we say that these types of interactions garner results that are 7 times plus the response rate of traditional channels, that's really why. That's the secret sauce. We're using a channel that people pay attention to. And again, it's all about growing products and services, creating meaningful, long-lasting relationships with your account base, and remaining top of mind with your audience that isn't always thinking about you. I hate to break it to you. They're living their lives, not always thinking about you. But in those cases where they may not be thinking about you, there's still an opportunity to engage and help them. And so that's what this is all about. So this is what it looks like. When we talk about push notifications, we're referring to a notification delivered through a mobile application. So they're short form communication. We employ the use of emoji, as you see. If that's on brand for you, there is some science behind it. It actually generates significantly higher results. That's just it's the way people speak today. They are actionable. So like Tracy and Justin touched on, the way to not only get someone's attention, but to give them the means to interact with you is really, really key. So in this example, we're also employing the use of location. So location is an element of segmentation based into the Larky portal, super easy to use. But in this case, if I'm I don't know, smiley face financial institution member, and I walk into the auto dealership because they've geo-fenced that in the local area, I'm then going to be provided with this notification or this nudge, looking for your dream car. We can help, tap here for a great rate. So what I'm doing as the financial institution is I'm getting in front of my account holder in a really relevant way based on their location, based on something that could help them. We know that they're in an auto dealership. Maybe we've set a 20-minute timer, so we want to make sure that they're actually in there. So they're in the dealership for 20 minutes. They're looking at a car. This notification goes off. Oh yeah, I forgot I am a member of Smiley Face Financial Institution, and they can help me with my auto financing. So these can go anywhere. They can route to a rate page on your website. They can go out to a loan origination system where the account holder can begin the journey right then and there. But we're both being proactive and we're being defensive. We're being proactive by getting in front of the account holder in a really relevant and meaningful way. And we're being defensive because we're getting in front of that scary finance desk in the back where the account holder will likely be offered one of the large banks and as an alternative to your relationship. So again, it's about messaging that is valuable to the account holder based on relevancy to them. We talk a lot about marketing, and at the end of the day, marketing is how we show ROI that is significantly that is in many multiples over the cost of this. That is how we drive revenue. That is how we drive income. That is how we help our client grow. But in addition to marketing, there are many use cases outside of that. We've touched on many. The left one is an example of a debit processor that had an outage. Never a fun situation, but the best way to turn a otherwise negative situation into a more positive one is by both being proactive and by giving a solution. So in this case, our client pushed this notification out. Hey, debit cards are down. We'd rather let you know that now than you have $100 worth of groceries and you're at the checkout line and your card declines. So we're being proactive. And by the way, tap here and we'll get you to an ATM or a branch where you can pull out some cash. And so we're giving you a solution during this situation. Again, not a great situation, but using this direct channel of communication, we can turn the frown upside down. I can't believe I just said that. The other example is risk mitigation. So when we have fraud events taking place, having a direct channel of communication to the account holders is absolutely critical. This client of ours had a fraud event that was taking place via text message, via SMS. This is a good opportunity to share the differentiation between text message and push notifications. Text messages can come from anyone. Anyone can text anyone. They're not branded. They're not delivered through the application, whereas push notifications are you. They're delivered through your application. They can't be spoofed. So in this case, this financial institution had a fraud event taking place via text message. They were garnering the account holders' login credentials and sending Zelle payments out to themselves. Hairy situation. Fortunately, this financial institution had this portal where they could go in, as Justin mentioned, in a matter of minutes, send this message out to the account base and stop this fraud event very, very quickly by telling people, hey, this isn't us. Don't respond to these. A friendly reminder, don't turn over your login credentials to anyone. We'll never ask you of that. So they turned a situation where they would either have to take a rather sizable loss or shut down digital banking and impact the entire account base for a period of time into a kind of a non-issue. They caught this right away. They got this message out, mitigated their losses to like $1,200, I think it was. So something that could have been drastic ended up being more of a non-issue because they had this communication channel. So again, many, many ways to utilize this. There's also an element of automation. So we want this to be easy for you to use. We want you to get up and off the ground very, very quickly. As such, you have access to our campaign gallery. And what this is a turnkey gallery of objectives that you may share with other financial institutions, whether it's e-statement adoption or driving debit card activation. You can go in the campaign gallery, select your campaign, more cliche, set it and forget it. And these messages will run automatically over a certain cadence of time, trying to drive a desired behavior for your account base. So whereas the branch on Main Street is closing at noon because there's a snowstorm coming, and that's sort of a one-time message, other sorts of promotions or behaviors that we're trying to drive require a bit of reinforcement. So there is a component of automation that can drive that type of behavior. And there's the intelligence baked into where if a member taps on any of these messages as part of a campaign, we can drop them from subsequent messaging. So we're then only addressing the audience that is still relevant to. So a really nice way to generate some automation behind the scenes where your staff doesn't have to be involved with this type of messaging, where these messages are going out over a period of time, again, trying to drive a desired behavior. So Tracy touched on some A/B testing and analytics. It's really, really important to know not just the tap rate and the receive rate, but using these to do some trend analysis. So our portal looks at a full suite of analytics, really aimed at giving you the tools to create meaningful messages that resonate with your account base. If for some reason they're not resonating, this data comes in real time, and we're able to tweak the messaging and ensure that it is in line with what resonates with your account base. So when we see these numbers come in, we can do some A/B testing with emojis and without emojis, and truly put our money where our mouth is in the sense that those work, and we can show you that. Or maybe with your account base they don't, but you have the analytics behind you to show you that what you are doing is in fact effective and that you have visibility of such. So again, we've talked about some of the sort of the challenges of the industry, right? Like, again, it's not earth-shattering information. We know that people are tough to get a hold of. We know that attention spans are small, and it's really tough to get our message out in front of people. But I think it's important to recognize that from time to time, that we do face these challenges, and it's important to recognize them so that we can continue to improve and continue to grow. We then talked about how CFCU is tackling some of these challenges and some of their many success stories in tapping into a direct channel of communication, using a digital channel that people really pay attention to. And then we talked about, well, how do we employ this? What does it look like? What is the Larky solution, and how do we get it done? So I hope that has enlightened you, in the sense that, going back to that original, one of the early slides of that BAI study, where people say, yeah, we know we have this challenge with digital interaction. Hopefully we've shown you a solution, that it doesn't have to be a challenge that you just grin and bear. There's a way around that. There is a way to get in front of your account base and to get them to better interact with you, and it's going to make you wildly successful. So with that said, Deborah, I'll turn it back to you, and let's see if we've got any Q&A. If you do have questions, again, use the Q&A function in Zoom. We'll be happy to go through those, and let's see if we can get a little bit of a dialogue going.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, Tracy, Justin. That was really, really great. So let me share my screen again. So before I get to the questions, I do want to, like Scott said, encourage you to utilize the Q&A function in Zoom if you haven't already. However, if after this webinar is over, maybe you have a question, you can always contact your Access Softek account manager, or you can reach us at learnmore@accesssoftek.com. We'll also be sending everyone a copy of this webinar so that you can listen to it again or share it with a colleague if you need to. So we do have a question in the Q&A, so let me bring that up. So the question is pricing use-based? The more we use it, does that add to the cost?
Love that question. Thanks for asking that, whoever did. No, it's not use-based. It's a flat monthly fee. The reason why we want you to be, two things. We want you to be really successful with this platform. And as such, we don't want you to have to consider, what is this message going to cost me to send out? So it's all inclusive. Kind of everything you see is what you get. So when we look at driving ROI, there's never the consideration of boy, what's it going to cost to let people know that the branch is closing because of a snowstorm? So simple answer, one monthly fee, all inclusive. What you see is what you get. Great.
We also wanted to know, are other Access Softek clients using Larky today?
Yes, they are. We have many Access Softek clients that are both live and currently in implementation, and many more coming live very, very soon. So yes, the integration is done. We have clients live. We'd be happy to connect you with them. Access Softek is a very important partner for Larky, and together we've had a tremendous amount of success in getting this solution into the hands of Access Softek users.
Great, let's keep going. So our tellers are tasked with cross-selling services during in-branch interactions. Can this help facilitate activity within the branch itself?
Oh, whoever asked this, gold star for you. It's something we kind of, like Tracy touched on, sort of the in-branch experience and sending requests out to members after they've been in a branch. I got excited about this question because it's not really a use case that we initially thought about. We thought about this as an external facing communication channel where we're driving products and services and letting people know information when they're not currently engaged. And that's still a very important and a very meaningful component to this. But what we found in working with clients is there's also a really strong in-branch element to this. So think about this as sort of a digital poster in the branch. You have the posters talking about CD rates or auto financing or whatever you're promoting presently. It's funny, I was in a credit union recently, and if you sit back and you watch people kind of snake their way up to the teller line, they walk in like this, right? That's how people walk around today. They stare at their mobile device. They're kind of in line going to do their transaction. So we had a light bulb moment and said, well, what better way to get people's attention even when they're in branch than geofence the branch network in the Larky portal. So we know when people are in the branch, when they cross into that geofence, when they're in the branch, they get a nudge that says, welcome to the branch on so-and-so street, or thanks for coming in today. ask about today's auto financing special, or ask about today's CD special, or consider opening a small business account, or whatever the case may be. It's been incredibly successful. And again, not something we thought about initially. The other thing, and I think this is what the question was steering toward, many of our clients have tellers that are tasked with cross-selling. And if you don't have a sales mindset, that can be a scary conversation to have. What this does when someone's in the line waiting to cash their check or whatever they're doing, and they get the nudge and it mentions a product or service that they may have some level of interest in, it gets them primed for that conversation with the teller. So then the teller is able to have a more warm conversation. And so, yeah, it drives products and services outside of the branch, but we've also been able to increase cross-sell penetration in branch using this as a method to kind of generate those conversations. So thank you for the question. I like the creativity, and yes, it's another strong use for this.
Great. We have another question. How does your support work? Will you help us learn best practices for this tool? And that's from Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Yes, absolutely. We have, so as we've grown and as we've built clients, as we've been out in the marketplace for a while now, we've gained a wealth of knowledge in terms of best practice and best practices. And again, we want you to be ultra successful with this. So when you're engaged with us, you're assigned a client success manager here at Larky. This person is solely responsible for your success in using the platform. They will help you with analyzing analytics, to creating A/B testing, creating location groups, but probably more importantly, helping you exercise your strategy, whatever that may be. It can be as simple as saying, hey, look, we've seen debit card swipes on a decline. We're trying to gain interchange income. We're trying to drive debit card activity. What can you do to help? And the client success manager will put together a campaign, will put together messaging. They can even write the copy for you. So again, you're very well supported in both with a person that brings a wealth of best practices, but also someone that can augment your staff and not have you do all the heavy lifting in terms of getting this off the ground, both initially and on an ongoing basis. So we want to make sure you're very successful with this. And as such, you are incredibly well supported by a team that is very talented in this form of communication.
I'll
Great.
just pipe into,
go ahead,
sorry, Scott, that's been our experience as well. And that's been made such a difference for us to be able to have that support with technology that we're just not used to. The recommendations and suggestions that y'all offer, even after implementation, has been a game changer for us.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you, Tracy.
So the next question is kind of related to that as well. So can you tell us a little bit more about the contracting and the implementation process?
Sure. Yeah. This is an Access Softek solution. So we're kind of behind the scenes. Again, you'll still work directly with us in terms of support on an ongoing basis. You'll interact with the Larky portal, but Access Softek is bringing this to market. They're bringing this to you, which is it's a significant benefit. One, they've negotiated some really attractive pricing on your behalf. So ROI is there right out of the gate, and the getting off the ground is very easy because you're not signing a whole new contract. You're simply adding something onto your existing Access Softek relationship. So the initial process is easy from that sense. In terms of implementation, again, the integration is done. The connection between Larky and Access Softek is there already. Again, we have clients utilizing it today. So that's already in place. Getting off the ground in terms of implementation is really just a matter of doing some testing. It can be measured in a series of weeks rather than months. It's truly up to your resources, up to Access Softek's implementation queue. But this is not a major project. This is not a major conversion. We've had clients that have launched within 30 days.
Great. We have 2 questions left, but we still have 10 minutes left in the webinar. So if you still have a question that hasn't been answered or you're curious about something, remember to hit that Q&A button and submit it. So our next question, I'm sorry if I missed this, but what are some ways that this solution can be used in addition to marketing messages?
Yeah, don't be sorry at all. Yeah, I mean, of course, marketing is is one of the major components we talked about. Again, it's how we drive revenue, right? We talked about many use cases, but there's a risk mitigation component, getting in front of fraud events, making sure people are aware of phishing scams as they're taking place, or just kind of a heads up security briefer. There's an operational component, the branch is closing, or join us at the new branch, or maybe you're supporting a community event in the park, for example, and you want to drive people to that. Again, marketing messages and driving products and services is always going to be a major component of this. But if you go back to one of my initial comments, this is a communication channel at its core. Whatever you have to communicate with your audience, you can do so in this manner using a very direct channel of communication. Tracy, I don't know if I left anything out in terms of non-marketing specific use cases, but again, I hate to say it again, but the sky's the limit and you can do anything with it.
I have nothing to add from my end. Again, I think it's really important to bake this into your marketing strategy to go beyond the product piece of it. But the community engagement piece is a focal point that we've tried, and it's been fairly successful.
Thank you. Awesome.
All right, last question that I see so far. This looks great and is something we've been looking for, but how much does it cost?
Great question. I'm so happy to, in all seriousness, I'm very happy to hear that you've recognized the value in this. I would ask you to talk to your Access Softek account manager. Again, this is delivered through them. They'll be happy to provide you with a proposal for pricing, and we can talk through that. And then we can have further conversations around ROI and how it's very easy to wash out the cost and then some significantly. This is not a significant expense. I would urge you, financial institutions of all size, to consider this. It's very scalable based on your size, based on your audience. So don't see this as something that, hey, it sounds great, I just don't know if we have the budget for. Again, not a significant investment in terms of time nor dollars.
All right, thank you. Again, I don't see any more questions, but if you do think of one, contact your Access Softek account manager or reach us at learnmore@accesssoftek.com. I want to extend my warmest thank you to Scott, Justin, and Tracy. We really appreciate your partnership and your testimonials today. I hope that everyone has a great rest of your Thursday, and be on the lookout for that survey and an email containing a recording of this webinar. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.